going to make a statement that you may or may not agree with, and if you don't agree with it, I just ask that you stick around to the end of this video and leave a comment down below and let me know why. Or if you do agree, let me know why I even strengthened your beliefs. Now here it is. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is rotten to the core and has no redeeming qualities and must be dismantled. Now, if you disagree with that, like I said, stick around, listen to what I have to say, but first, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe to my channel. Did an earlier video on the Twitter files, and there's been a few updates since that first video. And to give you the 10,000 foot overview of everything, the federal government, through the FBI and DHS and CIA and HHS, worked with Twitter to silence people that they didn't agree with. And when I say silence people, I'm not talking about taking down legal speech and, taking down child pornography, but I'm talking about political speech. I'm talking about memes and jokes from people with low follower counts, even. And this is a clear, obvious violation of the First Amendment. And it's a systematic violation of the First Amendment. It wasn't just a one-off thing. This is huge. And what's really bothersome about the whole thing is the reaction that we're seeing from the mainstream media. You don't really see any coverage of this on any of the news stations, do you? If you go to CNN or MSNBC or Reuters or the Associated Press, is there anything on there about the collusion of the federal government, the FBI, and Twitter? No, there's not. And to even just make this even worse, the thing is, Twitter had a problem with child pornography for a long time. In fact, they've had open lawsuits that still haven't been settled to this day from victims that are asking them to take down their videos and images. And this has been going on, I know it's since 2020, because I remember being frustrated back then that they could so easily silence somebody who said something that they didn't agree with, or said something that the HHS, the Fauci's, and the Branch Covidians didn't agree with, and they could just take it down just like that, or take someone off the platform just like that. They even made a new rule for President Trump. They knew, according to all their internal Slack messages and conversations, they knew that President Trump hadn't done anything wrong to break the terms of service. They silenced him. And you got these people that are trying to justify this, saying, well, they're a private company, they can silence whoever they want. Well, in this case, you can't just change your terms of service for one particular person, especially when you compare that to their prior policy of having world leaders on no matter what, because they thought it was actually better for the broader discourse. Now, whether you agree with President Trump or like him is really irrelevant here, and it should be irrelevant. Think about it. The FBI and the federal government worked to influence our elections. The election in 2020 and the election in 2022. And what they did to help justify their moves and their silencing of all this misinformation, disinformation, is the Russian collusion hoax. Now, the Russian collusion hoax was started by a lawyer from the Hillary Clinton campaign. And he went over to Jim Baker, who was working at the FBI at the time, and gave him some fake information. And then Jim Baker could not corroborate the information, but they were so bloodthirsty that they were willing to do anything. So they went ahead anyways and faked a FISA application and got a fake FISA warrant and started a whole process that is still going on to this day. And you still have people that believe that Donald Trump works with Russia because there are no honest mainstream journalists anymore. There are, but they're not given the platforms that spread far and wide. You have to seek them out more than anything. So, getting back to the child prawn problem, it turns out that once they got rid of the trust and safety team who was in charge of getting rid of that stuff off the platform, they were able to clear all of that crap off the platform very quickly and easily. And then it turns out that John Podesta's niece was on the trust and safety team. And if you don't know the implications of that, I want you to not really do yourself a favor, but Google John Podesta's artwork or John Podesta's art, and you'll see why it's a little ironic that his niece was working for the trust and safety team who was failing miserably in their jobs of taking off child pornography from the platform. It just seems a little strange to me. Then, of course, you had Dr. Fauci's daughter-in-law working there at Twitter. Twitter was a propaganda mouthpiece for the federal government and the deep state. And when I say the deep state, I'm talking about the bureaucrats. It's tyranny through bureaucracy. The bureaucrats who have been around for years and are happy with the status quo, and the 90% of DC residents who vote Democrat. That's the deep state. And they did collude to change our government, and they are a real threat to our democracy. But that's the thing, we're not a democracy either. We're a republic. Because democracy, a pure democracy, is bound to dissolve into tyranny at any point, because you're always going to have a tyranny of the majority. The majority is always going to rule, and you don't always want majority rule. You want to protect your minorities. And that's why we have a republican form of government. But they keep repeating this democracy, democracy, democracy over and over again to get it into your heads to make you forget what kind of country you live in. Now, it's important that we reclaim our democracy from these fools. And here's the other part of this. And think about all of the mass shootings that have happened in the last few years. All of those mass shooters were on the FBI's radar. And the plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer, remember how 12 of the 16 participants were FBI informants? And all the FBI informants that were involved in the January 6th riot, and the questions that haven't been answered from that. These things aren't really surprising that are coming out. What's surprising is now that we have the receipts, people are still trying to ignore it. They're trying to sweep it under the rug or justify it or try to change the subject and focus on something else other than what the real issue is here. So, if you agree with me that the FBI needs to be disbanded, please leave a comment down below and let me know. If you disagree, let me know if I haven't made my case enough. Now, I know that the FBI does do good things, but that is not an excuse. I don't hear one FBI agent coming out and protesting what has happened at their agency. To me, none of them are good, because they all took an oath, and they're all ignoring their oath right now in the light of day in front of all of us. So like I said, a child molester can pay his taxes, but that doesn't give him excuse to be a child molester and roam the streets. So please leave a comment down below and like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, peace be with you.